Well, welcome to another week of the Matt Report, brought to you by our friends at Cobos Insurance Center. I'm Sean Bennett from the Chronicle Telegram, being joined by my guest co-host this week, Chris Chidlaw, Elyria wrestling assistant coach. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, you've probably seen the show. We usually kind of start with some top three performances, and we have an Elyria wrestler on there. Surprise, surprise. We actually have several big performances this week. We'll talk about more later in the show, but our top three performances, we'll start with Daniel Buknavich of Midview. I'm sure you've got to see him several times over the course of the years.
Absolutely.
Daniel went 4-0 with 3 pins to win the 285-pound title at the Bill Dees Memorial at Akron Firestone. What is surprising is that he didn't get a pin in the final. He's now 22-0 with 21 pins. That was his first non-pin win of the season. He beat Jacob Burns of Akron Hoban, who's ranked number 4 in the state in Division II. Beat him 3-0, so still kind of dominated him, but or 3-1, I think it was. But I mean, 22 straight or 21 straight pins. That's insane.
Right. Very insane.
It was to the point where we're actually talking about, can somebody actually pin their way through an entire season? I mean, I'm sure it's impossible, but what are your thoughts on something like that? I mean, it's hard to believe somebody goes through and wins 21 straight matches by pin. 21
straight matches by pin is incredible. I'm not sure exactly what the state record. I think Matt Stencil might hold it. He's ranked 4th in the country at heavyweight for Central Michigan.
Okay.
I think he had close to 30-some.
Right.
But 21, I mean, you're just out there. And a lot of them were first period pins.
Yes.
A majority of them.
I think he had some single-digit second pins, like 7-8 second pins. It was amazing.
You know, I talked to one of the coaches there, and they just have trouble finding people to wrestle him in the practice room.
Yeah, we've had a couple heyday time periods where there was a lot of good heavyweights in the county. Right now we're a little bit down in the heavyweight division. I mean, when Kevin Vo and them were there was obviously some really premier heavyweights, not just in the state but in the country.
Yeah.
So obviously, great job for Daniel Buknavich. Next up, Enrique Munguia of Elyria. He went 5-0 with 3 pins and a major decision to win the 152-pound title at the Maumee Bay Classic at Oregon Clay. I was out there this weekend. Fantastic performance by him and the rest of the team. Obviously, the premier wins, he pinned Perrysburg's Alex Gary, who's ranked number 8 in the state in Division I in the second period, and he won a tight match against Tiffin Columbian's Brody Conley, who's ranked number 2, the projected state champion or projected state runner-up in Division II, and that's a kid that he had a loss to in the beginning duel to start the season. So obviously, it's nice to get a win over somebody who you previously lost to, but he beat some kids that are pretty high level.
Yeah, Munguia, he's a funky wrestler.
Yeah.
So that finals match, I got to watch it. I wasn't there in person, but I watched it online, and they had quite a few reversals with each other, and came right down to the wire there. Now the Gary kid, he pinned in the semifinals. He had a tight match in the 7th place match at Brecksville. It was a 5-4 match, and he completely dominated that one. So great tournament for Mr. Munguia, and so look forward to see what he could do continuing on the rest of the season.
And I was sitting there watching that match with his dad. We were up in the upper rails, you know how Oregon Clay is, and we're watching it. And all 4 of Conley's points came on reversals. So there's 10 seconds left, and Enrique's on top, leading 6-4. And I'm almost like, maybe they should just kick him just to be sure, so that kid doesn't hit a third reversal and tie this match up.
Right, yeah, because they both were just very scrambly, and you know. Conley was throwing in that boot, and Enrique does a nice job of swimming out of that and getting reversals out of that. And a lot of times he puts guys on his back with that, too.
Right on. Our final top performance is Jordan Greer of Avon, another guy I'm sure you're familiar with. These are all Division I guys you get to see every year in the postseason. He went 5-0 with 3 pins and a major decision to win the 195-pound title at the Bill Dees Memorial, the same event that Daniel Buknavich won. Just another, a lot of good, guys he went up against. Brunswick's Eddie Savastos. He's ranked number 13 in Division I. He pinned Olentangy Liberty's Dylan Russo, who's ranked number 15 in Division I in the championship match. He's just one of those guys who he's so unbelievably strong. He's chiseled. He's kind of like a freak of nature out there on the mat.
Right. Yeah. I was really impressed with him a couple years ago when I first saw him, and I was like, wow, this kid is really good. And he's just progressed over the years, and he didn't get a chance to wrestle in Brecksville because he was injured, so he didn't get to see Venadia, who's going to be one of his main competitors, and also Venadia was out for the D's tournament.
Right.
So They're not going to get to meet up initially, probably until the state tournament, because they're in different districts.
Right.
And state duels wise, I think they'll be in different regions also there too. So
yeah, no, it's going to be a match though that's going to be highly anticipated.
Oh yeah, it could be a state semifinal or final.
Yeah, that'll be good. So again, our top 3 performances this week: Daniel Buknavich of Midview, Enrique Munguia of Elyria, and Jordan Greer of Avon. Okay, moving on to our next segment. This is our other our sponsor segment. This is My Favorite Move, brought to you by Century 21 Deanna Realty. We're going to a school that you kind of have some history with. You work out at Brookside.
Yeah, I teach at Brookside High School.
Yeah.
This is my 14th year there.
14 years.
Yeah.
So we're going to be taking a look at Brookside's Eric Sadler. He's going to be showing us the Gator roll, which is kind of a fun, they use that in MMA a lot. You see it obviously used in wrestling. It's a kind of a fun move. So we'll see his version of the Gator roll. This is My Favorite Move with Brookside's Eric Sadler, brought to you by Century 21 Deanna Realty.
Hi, I'm Eric Sadler, wrestler at Brookside High School. Today I'm going to show my version of a Gator roll. So you start inside collar tie. Snap it out, catch front headlock, get this hook on this side. Fake cement mixer, get this guy to clamp down, and roll towards the arm.
So, again, that's a kind of a, not commonly used, you don't see it all the time, but that's a fun move.
It's absolutely, it can be a great move if you do it right. And it's, if you get the guy on his back and you can hold him there, it's lights out. I've seen some guys throughout the years, and I think it was Gene Mills out of PA. He used to do that in NCAA quite a bit and scored a lot of pinfalls. He's one of the top leaders in NCAA history for pins, and he does Gator roll. Some people call it cow catcher. Some people call it a twister.
Right.
He's got a bunch of
There's
different
so many
names.
different moves for names for some of these moves. It is a more popular move, I would assume, in maybe freestyle wrestling, where all you need is back exposure to get a point, and it's a little bit easier.
It can be at the lower levels. You see it a little bit more. The higher levels, those guys are ready for that.
Yeah.
But it does happen.
Okay.
But yeah, it can be a great move, a pinning combination, especially if you can catch that arm and get them right on their back at the end there.
Awesome. All right, again, that was My Favorite Move, brought to you by Century 21 Deanna Realty. We'll move on to the next one. This segment we called Championship Saturday. Earlier in the season, we had a weekend where we had a lot of local wrestlers win tournament championships in 1 week. This week was probably one of the best of the season. Obviously, we already kind of mentioned our 3 champions in the top 3 performances segment, but beyond that, we had a lot of other guys who won. Obviously, starting with Elyria, we know they kind of had a big team performance. They had 3 other champions out there at the Oregon Clay Maumee Bay Classic. Dylan Shaver of Elyria won the 126-pound title. Mick Burnett won the 138-pound title. And Jake Evans won the 182-pound title. All 3 of those guys are nationally ranked, so it's not exactly a surprise that they're winning titles.
Right.
But they still beat some really good guys. Some key wins. Obviously for Shaver, he had a tech fall of Edison's Hunter Vogus, who's ranked number 9 in Division III. He had a major decision of Brighton's Mason Schrader, who's a 2-time Michigan State placer. He plays 6th and 8th the last 2 years. And then a 7-6 tight match with Perrysburg's Joey Blaze, who's ranked number 3 in Division I, which was the all Burnett final.
Right.
It was kind of fun because I saw Mom Burnett out there, and she had a specially made T-shirt with the half E, half P, because her 2 sons, Scott Burnett's the Perrysburg head coach, and obviously Eric Burnett is the Elyria coach. So she's kind of just like, she says it's hard to watch those matches because she wants to root for both those boys.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the back it says Burnett, and it's part red and part gold.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen it. She's worn it. I think she wears it to, she wore it to Brecksville, and wherever they're competing against in the same tournament, she's wearing it. So probably see it again at regionals.
Yes. And then some of Mick's key wins. He had a 15-3 major decision over Springborough's Mason Kleinberg, who's ranked number 6 in Division I. A 10-4 win over Brighton's Eddie Homruck, who is a Michigan State champion and a Michigan State University signee. Very high-level guy, but Mick's had some good success against him. 10-4 actually is a little bit closer than when they met at Fargo, and he tech-falled him.
Right. So it's freestyle's a little different.
Yeah,
you can rack up points with a leg lace or a trapped arm gut or whatever. But he looked great the entire tournament. Almost got the major in the finals there. So I know he looks to score points, and that's one thing we've talked about him about is just keep scoring points. It doesn't have to be close.
Right. And then obviously Jake Evans, key wins for him. Pinned CVCA's Kyle Snyder, who's ranked number 10 in Division II, and he pinned Oak Harbor's Wyatt Miller, who's a projected state runner-up in Division III. He's a beast.
When he gets on top, it's you're in trouble. So if he gets his patented move in, you're gonna probably end up on your back. He did have a close match with the Perrysburg kid. It was 3-0. Musgrave from Perrysburg.
Right.
For a regional based thing, the regional duels, if they meet, I'm sure he's going to be looking to get 6 for his team on that instead of a decision. But that kid probably knew it was coming, was planning for it. But you can know what's coming, but you can't always stop it.
Right. I think that probably will, how you said, if they meet, but I think they're probably projected to possibly meet, maybe even in the finals. That could be the regional championship matchup.
It could be, depending. The regional assignments come out tomorrow, actually.
Yeah. Is it tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Because I knew today was the deadline for getting all the,
Yeah,
right.
So they come out tomorrow, and if Elyria ends up in the Clay region, because I know Clay is hosting, it could be, the top 3 seeds in any particular order, Elyria, Clay, and Perrysburg. So, going to see some of those, All
right, so the rest of these, or most of these champions here, the rest of them we're going to talk about, were all competing at the Husky Invitational at Northwestern this weekend, and we had 3 schools there. All 3 schools got champions, so that was kind of cool. Just going to run through them real quick. We'll start with Drew Del Judas of Avon Lake. We've kind of mentioned him. He's a kind of cool story if you haven't seen, where he's a senior. He was in the West Shore program as a youth. When he got into high school, he basically just played soccer for 3 years, and then decided to come back out for wrestling his senior year. He wins the Cobos his first weekend, first ever time playing wrestling varsity. He placed at Brecksville. I mean, he's just having a fantastic year for somebody who hasn't been away from the mats for 3 years.
That'd be like what you say, super impressive, right?
Super impressive, yes. But he won another tournament championship here this weekend. John Perry, his teammate, won at 138 pounds. I don't know if I mentioned, Drew Del Judas won at 126 pounds. Nick Hickman of Keystone won the 182-pound title at the Husky Invitational. Luke Moore won the 285-pound title of Keystone. And then Gabe Gayhart of Wellington won the 195-pound title. So Lorain County, 5 champions there out of 3 teams. A really good showing at the Husky Invitational this weekend.
And it looked like a lot of them were pinning guys throughout the tournament. So they were, probably starting to round into form here as we get through mid-January towards the postseason.
Right. And I included one other wrestler. I don't know if it's technically a championship because I think it was just a round-robin tournament where they didn't do brackets and placers. But Elyria's Riley Banyas, who I know you're probably familiar with, I'm sure, freshman, female girl wrestler. She's pretty much been Elyria's 106-pounder most of the year because of either injuries, illnesses, or just lineup shakeups.
Right.
She got to wrestle in a girls' tournament this weekend, went undefeated at the Ron Alexander Memorial at Lutheran West. They had both a boys' division and a girls' division. And she went 2-0, which, I don't know if it'd be worth mentioning, except for the fact that she's ranked right now number 3 in the state at 106 pounds. She dropped down and wrestled at 101 pounds. And beat 14-0 major decision over Bellefontaine sophomore Michaela Young, who's a projected state champion at 101 pounds, and then beat Pindle and Tangi Orange Jr. Emily Duvall, is ranked number 6 in the state. So that's got to be nice for her to kind of, because the first inaugural girls state tournament's right around the corner, and she's got to be thinking big things for that tournament.
Right. Yeah. She's worked real hard this season, and she's got thrust in the lineup at times where, and she's performed pretty well. Against the boys, and then she got opportunity to wrestle to drop down a weight, and she worked real hard to get down there, and to major decision 14-0, the number 1 ranked wrestler in the state at 101 pounds.
Right.
I can if she continues to work hard, that could bode for the. This is a girls' state tournament. It's not sanctioned by OSHA.
Right.
It's by the association.
Right.
But it's I think. Or 23rd that weekend?
Yes, that weekend, Saturday, Sunday, at Hilliard Davidson High School.
Yep.
So that'd be fun. I think I'm planning on going down because I think the SWCs is the first day. We're going to have to work it out. Maybe we'll get a second rider and be able to cover the whole thing. That's the plan. So it's going to be
pretty exciting that, I know girls wrestling is starting to grow across the country. I think there's now it's out of 49 states that do boys wrestling. I think Montana just sanctioned it for next year, so I think it's up to like 22 or 23 states. So hopefully Ohio will be on board very soon.
I think it will be a soon. I'm hoping it'll be a soon. Ohio usually is pretty progressive with getting things done. So hopefully within the next 2-3 years they'll add that to the OSHA.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, so our final segment, we kind of always have a kind of a casual conversation with our guest co-host. So we'll history with the sport of wrestling. I know you competed at Elyria High. Just kind of talk about how you got into the sport and about your days as a competitor and then as a coach.
So I was in a private school and up to second grade, and then third grade I started at Franklin Elementary in Elyria there. And a flyer came around for wrestling, and I said, "Oh man, this looks cool." So from third grade on, I wrestled at Elyria Youth Program, and then Eastern Heights Middle School. And then went to Elyria High School and wrestled with them. I was with the program for 4 years. I was only able to wrestle my first 2 because of some health issues. I couldn't wrestle my junior and senior year. But, and then I went off to college, came back and started coaching with Eric. 2003 was the first year I coached with Eric. I was a volunteer assistant at Keystone for a year and a half while I substitute taught there, and then been at Elyria ever since.
And a lot of people, Elyria is well known. They're nationally ranked, program. They're known everywhere in the United States. Really well known up here in Northeast Ohio. But from an insider's perspective, how cool has it been to watch that program progress the way it has? I mean, it's cool for me watching as a journalist, but getting to see it from the inside out, it's got to be pretty interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been 60 years of Elyria wrestling, and there's been some ups and downs throughout those years. 80s were a really good decade. 90s, not so much. When I was there, we had some good individuals. There's a lot of coaching turnover. And then Coach Burnett came in 98, and so I watched the progression while he was there because I knew some of the people that were wrestling. And then when I came in and, Eric started getting his first day qualifiers and placers before I came in there. And then, Coach Gillespie and I, Coach Gillespie came in the year after I did. And, we've had Dan Bottomley there, and we've got a bunch of other assistant coaches that have helped out with the program to help build it to where it is now. And it's pretty exciting to see, just from where we were at when I was there. We were not doing very well,
Right, yeah.
We were getting crushed pretty bad in dual meets, so now being on the other side of that is pretty awesome.
When the coaches get together and start talking about the old times, the years and things like that, and the big memories, is there one or two that pop right to your mind that you there's so many big things that have happened with the Elyria program?
Well, I mean, we in 1987 was Jeff Lyons was state champion, okay? So there was a long drought. So it was 2006. 2000. Danny Mitchell was, became Eric's first state champion.
Right.
And that year was quad and a lot of placers. It was just very exciting. And then the next year, Danny's younger brother, Stevie, and then Johnny Pycraft.
Right.
We only had 2 guys make it down, and they went undefeated. So, those 2 years, really stick out because it's kind of the start of, getting state and being relevant on the state board in the top 10. You've been down to the state tournament and your team gets on the board. It's pretty exciting. Right. And we hadn't been there. And to be on that board finally, and then get state champions, that was pretty exciting.
You guys spoiled me because that wasn't the year that Stevie and Johnny won was my very first year covering down there. And I get down there and they won. I was covering the Palmer boys and they won, and I think we were covering Kilgore from Brea Mid Park. So we were covering. I get 5-6 state champions the first year down. I'm like, wow, this is going to be really fun. And then all of a sudden we had some lean years, and now we're back to every year just 4 or 5 guys in the finals. It's really a great time to get down there.
I mean, and it's something you don't want to take for granted because, like you said, there can be lean years because you never know from year to year. I mean, we've had the one year we had 2 guys go down and they're both done the first night.
Yeah.
And that's we didn't know what to do.
That's tough.
So I mean, there's a lot of programs in this county that are we're seeing guys Firelands didn't have somebody for a long time. Brookside didn't have somebody for a long time, so they're getting down to the state tournament and placing, and that's pretty exciting for our county too.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, I want to kind of ask you about just kind of your love of the sport. One of the things that kind of, when I think of you, is you kind of go to like some really big events. You've been to the last couple Olympics, I know, at least the last couple Olympics. You've been to some international events around the world. You go to a lot of the NCAA events and stuff like that. How fun is it just kind of getting to do all that? You make it fun, I know, because we kind of, before we even started the show, we talked about, you have the American flag suit, which I think we'll put up right here. But yeah, it's just kind of a really kind of cool deal. It seems like you have a good time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like to go watch, the best, and, Northeast Ohio is great, but there's a bigger wrestling world than that. In 2012, I went to the London Olympics with Team Ohio with one of our wrestlers, Brandon Egner, and we got to go train with the British, Canadian, Austrian national teams in Manchester.
Very cool.
And then go down to London and watch some of the wrestling and get to see the sights. So that kind of got me the bug of wanting to go check out the other things. So then in 2015, I went to the World Championships in Las Vegas and got to see, Jordan Burroughs won gold medal. Kyle Snyder, that was his first World Championship gold medal.
Big year.
And then Helen Maroulis. And then I was excited about Rio, and I had tickets, and then some people that were going to go with me decided, they just, things came up, they couldn't go. So I wasn't going to go. And then I started seeing advertisements for the Olympics, and I was getting mad. And I usually, I grew up watching the Olympics with my parents, and I said, forget it, I'm going to go. So I went by myself down there, and it was an amazing experience. If you've never traveled by yourself, do it. It's freeing.
Bruce knows. He drives all over the America chasing tornadoes by himself.
So it's actually pretty awesome. And so then I've been to the last two NCAA championships. Cleveland was pretty easy.
Yeah, I was that one.
Pittsburgh wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
So Minnesota's this year. I'm going to try and get out to that.
Yeah.
I want to go to Tokyo this year, but I don't think it's going to happen because lodging's about $1,000 a night out there.
Wow.
So. Fund-wise, that's probably not the.
It's up there.
Probably not the best way to go.
The nice thing about it is there's always another big event right around the corner.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show this week. So thanks to you for stopping by. Thanks to our sponsors, Cobus Insurance Center, who is our title sponsor, and Century 21 Indiana Realty for sponsoring My Favorite Move. Thanks to Bruce Bishop behind the camera. And again, thanks to you, for the viewer, for stopping by, and we'll see you next week.